This tutorial will show you how to use the Intelligent Canvas feature in Pena. Pena is one of the only paint packages to offer the Intelligent Canvas feature. The Intelligent Canvas feature allows you to instruct the canvas that certain parts of its surface have certain properties. For example, you could have a picture and say that this portion of the picture is always to be tinted green no matter what I draw. Or you could have something this is always a brick wall no matter what I draw. You're actually programming effects or properties into the canvas itself. In order to have a good understanding of how Intelligent Canvas works, you must first be very well acquainted with brush effects and the Effects Pane, as well as the Selection Pane, because both of these are used to set up our Intelligent Canvas surface. Let's start by looking at our brush pane, our Effects Pane, and looking at the brush effects. We currently have no effects used because it's a red X, and we have no surface effects used. They're all a red X. So in this case, if we're painting, we're going to be painting with color 1. It doesn't matter where we paint, we're going to get that nice blue color that we have set into color 1. Likewise, if you recall, if we're using a brush effect and we paint, we get that brush effect. Here we're painting with a gradient. Let's clear our screen. In order to tell the system that the canvas has properties, we first go into the Selection Pane and we set up the area that we want our properties to be in. So let's start by creating a circle, and we tell it that that is a selected region by hitting the big green plus sign, and that sets that to selected. We can now go into our Effects Pane and turn on our first effect, and here we're going to use a 4-color gradient, and we have it fit to brush. But we must first tell it that that circular area we created is to know about this particular effect. We're going to do that by tapping this lime green mask, and it's going to tell us right away surface is turned off. So in order to use the system, we must make sure that both the surface effect flag and at least one slot is turned on. We'll now tap that and we get choices. And there's many choices in here, but the two most useful is the first one, entire select area, and this one down here, which is merge select area everywhere. Let's start out with the entire select area. What this is going to say is the selection region, that circular area we create, we're going to program it so that the color gradient, 4-color gradient, is into that area. So now let's try painting. I'm going to start painting. There's our blue. And as I enter this region, notice how we get the 4-color gradient with the fit to brush automatically drawing for us in that area. No matter what I draw, it will always be that particular effect. Okay, let's go ahead and add a second effect. Let's go back to our Selection Pane. I'll pick a square, and let's move that square so it overlaps the original area a little bit. See here, we have a bit of overlap. And let's go ahead and clear our existing selection area. So now nothing is selected, and we'll go ahead and select this new region. Go back to our Effects Pane, turn off the 4-color gradient, and turn on texture. Again, we're going to need to program the canvas. What we want to do here is merge it. We're going to merge the selected area everywhere. So let's see what this did. Let's turn on both of our effects, start to paint, and we see that as we paint in the square region, we're getting our texture, which is our Arches National Park photo that we already had loaded. As we paint into the circular area, we're still getting our gradient brush. And as we paint in between the area, this is a combination. However, it doesn't appear to be a combination because we are replacing color 1 in the texture, thus clobbering that 4-color gradient. Let's change that replace to something like a multiply. Again, now this will be multiplied times blue as we're painting. So there's our texture multiplied times blue, our painting color. But as we enter the combined area, we're getting both the gradient brush and the texture in that combined area. So that's what merging does. It allows multiple programs to exist. Now, there's several things that are important here. You notice one thing we did is when we went to our select area, we cleared the select area that we had previously created the circle, and then we can clear the square area as well, clear all selected areas. And it didn't matter. The effect stays persistent. Let's go ahead and change our color to something a little brighter. And again, paint. And there's our texture multiplied with that orange. As we come here, there's the orange multiplied with the texture multiplied with our gradient brush, and there's our gradient brush. But all the selected areas are gone. Why did that work? Well, that worked because using the mask icon on the effect pane, essentially, and here we're trying it again, it says no selection mask, there's nothing to do, but that essentially transferred that selected area, that selected region, into a special intelligent canvas buffer. So once we've done that, once we've programmed the intelligent canvas, you can go ahead and use the selection pane to do anything else. Make text, copy and paste, make regions that you can't draw in. We no longer need the selection pane once our canvas is programmed. Now it's important to realize that the canvas really doesn't know that it's a 4-color gradient here, and it really doesn't know that it's a texture number 1 there. All it knows is this effect slot number 1 is in this region, effect slot number 2 is in this region, and the combined region has effect slot number 1 and effect slot number 2. Both of them are in there. So we can see how that works. I'm going to change the 4-color gradient to a brick wall, for example. And we'll go ahead and paint. And then again, there's our texture being painted in our tinted color. But now we have a brick wall. Our 4-color gradient has gone away, and in the middle we have the combined thing. So once you have an area set up, you don't need to do anything to change the effect that's assigned there other than to just simply change the effect. Why? Because this didn't know it was a brick wall. It only knew it was slot number 1. Now when you're programming these things, you can use as many as you want simultaneously. So for example, as many programs you want simultaneously. For example, I'll come over here, place another circular region. Let's move this over like that. Again, say this is set. Go back to our effect pane, and you'll see that we have them both turned on. And again, I will the entire select area. And let's start painting. There's our orange, our brick wall, our tinted region, and now we're over here and we have our brick wall and our tinted region being used simultaneously. And you can see that as I paint, it's not changing because there's no fit to brush or anything like that. So here, both these programs were entered simultaneously in this one region. So you can have 1 effect, 2 effects, 10 effects, 50 effects. They all affect whatever's turned on at the moment when you program them into the system. The erase icon next to this allows us to remove programming. A good one is this anywhere I erase. This allows us to paint. You'll see that when I did that, it changed the selection mask color to this green color. As I start to paint, I'll paint in the middle here, it's now removing that from the program area. We can see how that works by painting. And there's our orange color in the middle. This is no longer part of the program, this middle of this particular region. Now, normally brush effects are executed first and then your surface effects. In other words, the brush effects will generate its color. Those are passed to the surface effects, which changes that color, and then it's deposited on the canvas. That behavior can be changed in the settings pane. You could ask to draw the surface first. If you turn that option on, which we won't right now, if you turn that option on, these will be executed first. Color 1 will enter the surface effects, and then the output of that will go to the brush effects. So you have either way of being able to paint. Starting the normal way, brush on top of surface, or the second way, surface on top of brush. Now keep in mind, we can turn these off to momentarily remove that effect. So there I've turned off the texture, and now we're just getting the brick wall. I could turn off the texture and the brick wall, and we just get our orange. Turn them back on, and we're back to painting our normal textured brick wall in that area. The flood icon is nearly identical to the green mask icon. It basically allows you to apply the program, but instead of applying it it applies it to the entire surface. In other words, not the selected region, but the entire surface. You don't need to have selected regions to use the flood icon. The eye icon allows us to see our programs. Tint active programs in green. If we turn one of these off and tint active programs in green, you can see it didn't tint the middle one because it's no longer active. I could have said tint hidden programs in yellow, and because that's hidden, it's both here and here, these regions are in yellow. Likewise, if I had something set to a texture that doesn't have an effect in it, that would be a missing program, and there's various combinations of these. These allow you to visualize the intelligent canvas areas since they're normally hidden unless you're painting. You can also ask the system what effect slots are being used in the surface, and it'll come back and tell you the following slots are set in the surface 1 and 2. So that's a non-visual way, but more of a text-oriented way to get that same information. Final icon here is our load and save icon, and this works identically to the load and save icon on the brush side, with the exception that is only saving and loading your surface effects. So any favorite surface effects you can place into the surface effect save and load icon. Keep in mind that the effects list is identical for brush effects and surface effects, and there's no difference between how the effects work. It's just the difference is whether it's programmed into the surface or not. And likewise, using any of these commands in the modifier work identically on both sides. For example, I could simply switch slot 1 and slot 2, and now watch what happens when I paint. We're going to switch the effect that these things are laid down in. So again, that's another stress that it's not the slot it's not the effect that's being remembered, it's the slot. Whatever one is, doesn't matter what's in it, that's what's going to be used. So that is the basic tutorial on how to use Intelligent Canvas in Pena.